The morning sun cast long shadows across the palace gardens as Kate clutched her pearl necklace, trying to steady her trembling hands. She had received the summons just an hour ago, a formal request to attend a private meeting in the blue drawing room. The message had been brief, written on palace stationery with Camilla's distinctive seal at the bottom. Kate's heels clicked against the marble floors as she made her way through the endless corridors. Palace staff members quickly averted their eyes as she passed, and she couldn't help but notice the hushed whispers that followed in her wake. Something was different today. The usual warm greetings and friendly smiles were replaced with uncomfortable silence and nervous glances. Outside the blue drawing room, Kate paused to collect herself. Through the slightly open door, she could hear voices, Camilla's measured tones mixed with what sounded like several senior courtiers. Kate knocked softly and entered. The room fell silent immediately. Camilla sat in the center, dressed in an emerald green suit that emphasized her regal bearing. Around her stood several palace officials, their faces grave and unreadable. But it was Camilla's expression that made Kate's blood run cold. A slight smile played at the corners of her mouth, but her eyes held no warmth. "Catherine," Camilla said, using Kate's formal name with deliberate emphasis. "How good of you to join us. Please, do sit down." Kate moved to the indicated chair, feeling like a student called before the headmistress. The atmosphere in the room was thick with unspoken tension. She noticed a folder on the table in front of Camilla, its contents hidden from view. "I suppose you're wondering why I've called you here," Camilla continued, her fingers drumming lightly on the folder. "Recent events have come to my attention that require discussion." Kate's mind raced. What events? She had been careful, so careful, in everything she did. Every public appearance had been flawless, every charity engagement perfectly executed. William had assured her just last night that everything was fine. "I'm not sure I understand," Kate began, but Camilla raised a hand to silence her. "Oh, I think you do," Camilla replied, her smile widening slightly. "You see, Catherine, when one marries into this family, certain expectations must be met. Certain protocols must be followed." One of the courtiers stepped forward and whispered something in Camilla's ear. The older woman nodded slowly, never taking her eyes off Kate. "It has come to our attention that you've been making inquiries," Camilla said. "Asking questions about matters that don't concern you. Speaking to people you shouldn't be speaking to." Kate felt her cheeks flush. She had indeed been asking questions, about Diana, about the circumstances surrounding her death, about the letters she had supposedly written in her final years. But she had been discreet, or so she thought. "I was simply trying to understand the family history better," Kate said, trying to keep her voice steady. "I thought it would help me in my role." "Your role?" Camilla repeated, savoring the words. "Yes, let's discuss your role, shall we?" She opened the folder, revealing photographs. Kate's heart sank as she recognized them, images of her meeting with Diana's former private secretary, pictures of her visiting the National Archives, even shots of her in the palace library, reading books about Diana's life. "You've been quite busy," Camilla observed. "Tell me, Catherine, what exactly were you hoping to find?" Kate lifted her chin slightly. "The truth," she said simply. The room seemed to grow colder. Camilla's smile disappeared entirely, replaced by a look of icy determination. "The truth," she repeated. "How noble. How naive. Let me share some truth with you, my dear. This family survives on carefully managed narratives. We don't dig up the past. We don't ask uncomfortable questions. And we certainly don't go behind closed doors seeking answers to questions that were settled long ago." "But Diana deserved," Kate started, but Camilla cut her off sharply. "Diana is gone," she said firmly. "And those of us who remain must focus on the future, not the past. Your obsession with her is becoming problematic." Kate felt tears prickling at her eyes but refused to let them fall. "Not here, not in front of them. I'm not obsessed. I just wanted to understand." "Understanding comes with time," Camilla said. "And trust. Both of which you seem to be lacking." She closed the folder with a decisive snap. I'm afraid your recent activities have consequences. Kate's hands clenched in her lap. What kind of consequences? Camilla stood, smoothing down her skirt. The other officials remained silent, their faces masks of professional neutrality. Your upcoming tour of Australia has been cancelled. Your patronages will be under review. And your public appearances will be limited for the foreseeable future. The words hit Kate like physical blows. The Australia tour had been months in planning. Her patronages were her life's work. And limiting her public appearances meant essentially putting her under palace house arrest. You can't do this, Kate whispered. Can't I? Camilla asked, arching an eyebrow. My dear girl, you seem to have forgotten how things work here. The crown protects itself. Always. She moved towards the door, then paused, looking back at Kate with that cold smile. Oh, and, Catherine? Your meetings with William will also be supervised for a while. Just to ensure there are no more misunderstandings. Kate felt the blood drain from her face. They were isolating her, cutting her off from her husband, from her work, from everything that mattered. William won't stand for this, she said, but, even as the words left her mouth, she heard how weak they sounded. William will do what's best for the crown, Camilla replied. As will you, once you've had time to reflect on your position. She gestured to the courtiers. These gentlemen will escort you back to your apartments. You'll find your schedule has been cleared. Indefinitely. Kate stood on shaky legs. The room seemed to spin slightly, and she had to grip the chair to steady herself. This wasn't happening. This couldn't be happening. As she was led towards the door, Camilla spoke again. One more thing, Catherine. That American journalist you've been corresponding with? The one writing the book about Diana? I trust you'll cease all communication immediately. It would be such a shame if those emails were to be misinterpreted. Kate froze. She had been so careful with those emails, using encrypted channels, meeting the journalist in secret locations. How could they know? We know everything, my dear, Camilla said, as if reading her thoughts. Every email, every phone call, every secret meeting. Did you really think you could operate without our knowledge? In our own palace? The tears Kate had been holding back finally began to fall. She quickly wiped them away, not wanting to give Camilla the satisfaction, but it was too late. The older woman's smile grew wider. There, Camilla said with mock sympathy. Tears won't help you now. Actions have consequences, Catherine. Perhaps next time you'll think twice before playing detective. Kate was ushered from the room, the courtiers flanking her like guards. As they walked through the palace corridors, she caught glimpses of staff members quickly looking away, their faces full of pity and fear. News traveled fast in the palace. Everyone would know by tea time that the Princess of Wales had been put in her place. Back in her apartments, Kate found her personal secretary, Amanda, packing boxes. Amanda, she asked, confused. Amanda looked up, her face stricken. I'm so sorry, Your Highness. I've been reassigned. Effective immediately. She lowered her voice. They're replacing all your staff. People loyal to other interests. Kate sank onto a sofa, the full weight of her situation crashing over her. They weren't just limiting her activities, they were building a prison around her, brick by brick. Every person she trusted was being removed, every avenue of independence cut off. Her phone buzzed. A text from William, in meetings all day. We'll explain later. Please don't do anything rash. Even her husband was being kept from her. Kate stared at the phone, wondering if even this communication was being monitored. Of course it was. Everything was. As Amanda finished packing, she paused at the door. Your Highness, she said quietly, Diana's former butler left something for you. Before they stopped him coming. It's hidden in the blue guest room, behind the portrait of Queen Victoria. Before Kate could respond, Amanda was gone, the door closing with a quiet click. Kate was alone, more alone than she had ever been in her life. Outside, she could hear new staff members arriving, strangers who would report her every move back to Camilla. She thought about the hidden item in the guest room. Whatever it was, retrieving it would be dangerous. They would be watching. But what did she have to lose now? They had already taken everything. Standing, Kate walked to the window and looked out at the palace grounds. Somewhere out there, Camilla was probably congratulating herself on a job well done. The troublesome princess had been neutralized, the questions about Diana silenced once again. But, as Kate stood there, her tears drying on her cheeks, something hardened inside her. They might have won this round, but the game wasn't over. She had learned something valuable today. The palace's greatest weapon was secrets, and its greatest fear was the truth. And Kate had always been very good at finding the truth. 3 weeks had passed since the confrontation in the blue drawing room. Kate's world had shrunk to the confines of her apartments, monitored by staff whose loyalties lay elsewhere. The palace had become a gilded cage, every movement watched, every conversation reported. William's visits were rare and always supervised. He would sit stiffly across from her, making small talk about the weather while a palace official took notes in the corner. His eyes would meet hers, full of apology and frustration, but he dared not speak freely. The few times he tried to discuss what had happened, the official would clear their throat meaningfully, and William would fall silent. But Kate had not been idle. Late at night, when the palace slept, she had retrieved the item Amanda had mentioned. It was a small leather journal, filled with Diana's handwriting. The entries were dated just months before her death, and they painted a picture that made Kate's blood run cold. Diana had discovered something that threatened the very foundations of the monarchy. She wrote about secret meetings, hidden accounts, and a conspiracy that reached the highest levels of the palace. But, before she could expose it, she was gone. Kate hid the journal carefully, knowing that if it were discovered, her situation would become even more precarious. But its contents burned in her mind. Diana had been silenced for asking the same questions Kate was now asking. History was repeating itself. One afternoon, Kate was summoned to take tea with Camilla. She had no choice but to attend, flanked by her new handlers. The queen consort received her in the Rose Room, a space decorated with portraits of former queens who had all, in their own ways, been forced to bend to the will of the crown. Catherine, Camilla greeted her, gesturing to a chair. "You look tired. I do hope you've been resting." Kate sat carefully, aware that every word, every gesture would be analyzed. "I've had a great deal of time for rest lately," she replied evenly. Camilla poured the tea herself, a gesture that might have seemed gracious if not for the calculating look in her eyes. "I thought we should have a little chat. Woman to woman, as it were." "About what?" Kate asked, accepting the delicate china cup. "About reality," Camilla said bluntly. "You see, my dear, I wasn't always welcomed into this family either. I spent years on the outside, vilified, hated, compared constantly to Saint Diana." She said the last two words with particular venom. "But I learned something valuable during those years." "Do you know what that was?" Kate remained silent, sensing a trap. "Patience," Camilla continued. "And the understanding that in this family, in this institution, survival isn't about being loved. It's about being useful. Diana never understood that. She thought love from the public was enough. She thought truth and authenticity mattered more than duty and discretion. And look where it got her," Kate said quietly, unable to help herself. Camilla's cup paused halfway to her lips. She set it down slowly, her eyes glittering dangerously. "Yes," she said. "Look where it got her. A tragic accident. A life cut short. Such a terrible waste." The threat was unmistakable. Kate felt a chill run down her spine, but she kept her face neutral. "What do you want from me?" "Compliance," Camilla said simply. "Stop asking questions. Stop digging into the past. Accept your role, limited as it may now be, and, perhaps in time, some privileges might be restored." "And if I don't?" Camilla's smile was razor-sharp. "My dear, you have children. William has a throne to inherit. There are so many things to consider, aren't there? So many people who could be affected by your choices. Kate's hands clenched involuntarily. They were threatening her children now, albeit subtly. The message was clear: fall in line or face consequences that extended beyond herself. I've done nothing wrong, Kate said, her voice barely above a whisper. I've only sought to understand my place in this family's history. History is written by the survivors, Camilla replied. And I intend to survive. The question is, do you? Before Kate could respond, there was a knock at the door. A courtier entered, bowing low. Your Majesty, I apologize for the interruption, but there's an urgent matter requiring your attention. Camilla frowned, clearly annoyed. Can't it wait? I'm afraid not, ma'am. It concerns the evening news broadcast. Camilla's face went pale. She stood abruptly, then seemed to remember Kate's presence. Stay here, she commanded. We're not finished. She swept from the room, leaving Kate alone with her cold tea and racing thoughts. What could be so urgent about the evening news? Kate strained to hear the hushed conversations in the corridor but could make out nothing distinct. Minutes passed. Then, from somewhere in the palace, Kate heard raised voices. Camilla's distinctive tones, sharp with anger. Other voices, placating, worried. Something had happened, something unexpected. The door burst open, and William appeared, his face flushed with emotion. The handlers who were supposed to be watching Kate were nowhere to be seen. Kate, he said urgently, crossing to her in quick strides. We don't have much time. There's been a leak. Those emails you exchanged with the journalist, they're about to be published. Along with other things. Documents from Diana's investigation. Kate's heart leaped. How? I don't know, but Camilla is in damage control mode. She'll be back soon, and when she is. William gripped her hands. Kate, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry I couldn't protect you from this. But now we have a choice to make. What choice? William's eyes were fierce with determination. We can stay silent, let them spin this however they want, let them bury the truth again. Or we can speak out. Tell our side. Confirm what Diana discovered. Kate thought of the journal hidden in her apartments, of Diana's words about truth and duty. She thought of her children, of the world they would inherit. If we speak out, they'll destroy us. They're destroying us anyway, William said. At least this way, we go down fighting. At least this way, the truth has a chance. From the corridor came the sound of approaching footsteps, many of them moving fast. Their time was up. Whatever happens, William said quickly, know that I love you. And I should have stood up to them sooner. The door flew open. Camilla stood there, her face a mask of cold fury. Behind her were several senior courtiers and, Kate noticed with a sinking heart, palace security. William, Camilla said icily. I should have known you'd be here. No matter. It's too late for damage control through conventional means. She looked at Kate. You forced our hand, Catherine. Both of you have. What are you going to do? Kate asked, standing and moving closer to William. Camilla's smile was terrifying in its calmness. What this family has always done when faced with threats to its survival. We're going to protect the crown. By any means necessary. She nodded to the security team. Escort their royal highnesses to the Bowmore wing. They're to remain there until further notice. No communication with the outside world. No visitors without my express permission. You're imprisoning us? William said incredulously. I'm protecting you, Camilla corrected. From yourselves. And, from the difficult decisions that need to be made. She paused at the door. Oh, and that journalist? The one with all those emails? I'm afraid he's about to have a terrible accident. So unfortunate. These things happen. Kate gasped. You can't I? Camilla interrupted. My dear girl, you still don't understand. This institution has survived for over 1,000 years. Do you really think it's done so by playing nice? By letting every truth seeker and idealist tear down its foundations? She looked at them both with something almost like pity. Diana thought she could change things too. She thought the truth would set her free. All it did was set her free from life itself. With that chilling statement, she left. The security team moved forward, professionally but firmly indicating that William and Kate should come with them. As they were escorted through the palace, Kate caught glimpses of frantic activity. Staff members running with papers, senior officials huddled in urgent conversation, the distant sound of phone calls being made. The palace was in crisis mode, all because the truth was about to come out. The Bowmore wing was in the oldest part of the palace, a section rarely used in modern times. The apartments there were luxurious but isolated, with bars on the windows that were decorative but functional. As the heavy door closed behind them, Kate heard the unmistakable sound of locks engaging. They were prisoners now, in all but name. William immediately began checking the rooms, looking for phones, computers, any means of communication. There were none. Even the windows had been sealed shut. They can't keep us here forever, he said, but his voice lacked conviction. Kate sank onto an antique sofa, the weight of their situation crushing. Can't they? Who would stop them? Who would even know? Outside, they could hear guards taking up positions. Their prison was complete. But, then, Kate remembered something. She pulled William close, whispering urgently. Diana's journal. It's hidden in our apartments. If they find it. William's face went white. They'll search everything now. It's probably already gone. A knock at the door interrupted them. They exchanged glances. Who could it be? The door opened to reveal not a guard or a courtier, but the last person Kate expected to see. Harry stood in the doorway, his face grim. Hello, brother. Kate. He stepped inside, and the door was quickly closed and locked again behind him. Harry? William said in disbelief. What are you doing here? Same as you, apparently, Harry replied. Under house arrest. Seems Camilla doesn't trust me any more than she trusts you. He looked at them both with a mixture of sadness and determination. But I have something you need to see. Something I've been holding onto for years, waiting for the right moment. He pulled out a small USB drive. Security footage from the night Mom died. The real footage, not the edited version they released. I had a friend in palace security who saved it before they destroyed the originals. Kate felt her heart skip. How did you get it past the guards? Harry smiled grimly. Let's just say I learned a thing or two about hiding things during my years as the spare. He handed the drive to William. There's a laptop hidden in the library here. Old one, but it works. They didn't know about it when they cleared the wing. Why now? William asked, clutching the drive. Why show us this now? Because, Harry said, they're about to do to Kate what they did to Mum. Maybe not in the same way, but the end result will be the same. Silenced, discredited, destroyed. I couldn't save Mum. But maybe we can save Kate. Maybe we can finally tell the truth. From outside came the sound of more activity, voices raised in urgency. Whatever was happening in the outside world, it was escalating. The three of them stood there, united for the first time in years by shared danger and shared purpose. The USB drive seemed to pulse with possibility in William's hand. On it might be the evidence they needed to expose everything. Or it might be their death warrant. Once we look at this, William said slowly, there's no going back. There's already no going back, Kate said firmly. They've made that clear. The only question now is whether we go down as victims or as fighters. Harry nodded. Mum would have fought. William squared his shoulders. Then, we fight. All of us. Together. As they made their way to the hidden library, Kate couldn't help but think about Camilla, sitting somewhere in the palace with that cold smile, thinking she had won. But, the game was far from over. The truth has a way of coming out, no matter how deeply it's buried. And, as the afternoon sun slanted through the barred windows, casting long shadows across their prison, Kate felt something she hadn't felt in weeks: hope. They might be caged, but they weren't broken. Not yet. The real battle was just beginning. The laptop was exactly where Harry said it would be, hidden behind a false panel in the library's oak shelving. As William powered it on, Kate kept watch at the door, her ears straining for any sound of approach. The guards remained outside, but who knew when Camilla might decide to pay them a visit? The screen flickered to life, and William inserted the USB drive with trembling hands. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, a folder appeared, containing dozens of video files, all dated August 31, 1997. "This is it," Harry whispered. "The truth they've hidden for over 25 years. William clicked on the first file. Grainy security footage filled the screen, showing the Ritz Hotel in Paris. They watched as Diana emerged, surrounded by photographers, making her way to the waiting Mercedes. But, then, William noticed something the official reports had never mentioned: a figure in the crowd, someone who wasn't press, speaking into a radio. "Who is that?" Kate asked, leaning closer. Harry's face was grim. "Keep watching." The footage switched to another angle, this one from a traffic camera. They could see the Mercedes speeding through the Paris streets, the pursuing photographers, and two other vehicles that seemed to be coordinating their movements, boxing the Mercedes in. "Those aren't paparazzi," William said slowly, his face pale. "No," Harry confirmed. "They're not." The final footage was the most damning. A camera from inside the tunnel, one that officially didn't exist. It showed the Mercedes entering, the flash of cameras, and, then, something else. A blinding light from one of the pursuing vehicles, directed straight at the driver. The Mercedes swerved violently, and, then, Kate turned away, unable to watch. William's face was stone, but tears ran down his cheeks. Harry stood with his fists clenched, years of suppressed rage finally given vindication. "It wasn't an accident," William said, his voice hollow. "They killed her. And now they're trying to silence Kate for getting too close to the truth," Harry added. "The pattern is always the same. Isolate, discredit, destroy." A sound from outside made them all freeze. Footsteps, multiple sets, approaching their wing. William quickly ejected the USB drive and closed the laptop. "Hide it," he hissed, passing the drive to Kate. She looked around frantically, then spotted an old music box on a shelf. She opened it, placed the drive inside, and set it back just as the door opened. Camilla entered, flanked by 4 senior officials. Her face was composed, but there was something wild in her eyes. Behind her, Kate glimpsed additional security, far more than before. "Well," Camilla said, her voice dangerously calm. "Quite the family reunion. How touching." She walked further into the room, her gaze sweeping over them like a predator sizing up prey. "I suppose you think you've been very clever. But, did you really believe we wouldn't know about Harry's little insurance policy? We've known about that footage for years." Harry stepped forward. "Then, it proves nothing," Camilla cut him off. "Grainy footage that could be interpreted a dozen different ways. Conspiracy theorists have been peddling such nonsense for decades." She smiled coldly. "But, what concerns me more is what you plan to do with it." William found his voice. "The world deserves to know the truth about what happened to our mother. The world," Camilla said slowly, "deserves stability. Order. The monarchy provides that. Your mother, God rest her soul, never understood that her personal desires were less important than the institution she married into." "You mean she wouldn't play your games?" Kate said, surprising herself with her boldness. Camilla's gaze snapped to her. "Games? My dear child, this isn't a game. This is survival. The survival of a 1,000-year-old institution that holds this nation together. And I will not let the sentimentality of a few idealists destroy it." She gestured to one of the officials, who stepped forward with a set of documents. Which brings us to the matter at hand. Sign these. William took the papers, scanning them quickly. His face went white. Abdication papers? You want me to give up my place in the succession? Insurance, Camilla corrected. Sign them, and they'll remain in our files, and used, as long as you both behave. Continue this crusade, and they'll be made public, along with a carefully crafted story about your mental instability and unfitness for the throne. You're insane, Harry said flatly. Camilla's laugh was like breaking glass. Insane? No, Harry. I'm practical. Your brother can either be a king who understands the importance of discretion, or he can be a footnote in history, the prince who couldn't handle the pressure. She looked at Kate. And you, my dear, can either be a dutiful princess who learned her lesson, or you can be the woman who drove the future king to madness with her obsessions about the past. Kate felt the walls closing in. This was checkmate, and they all knew it. Sign, and live under Camilla's thumb forever. Refuse, and lose everything. You have 1 hour to decide, Camilla said, turning to leave. Then, she paused. Oh, and that journalist? The one with all those emails? Terrible car accident this afternoon. Didn't survive, I'm afraid. Such dangerous roads in London these days. The door closed behind her with a final click. The three of them stood in stunned silence, the weight of what they'd just heard crushing them. She killed him, Kate whispered. Just like that. She had him killed. William sank into a chair, the abdication papers crumpled in his fist. What do we do? If we sign these. If you sign those, she owns you forever, Harry said firmly. There will always be another demand, another threat. It will never end. Kate moved to the window, looking out at the palace grounds through the decorative bars. Somewhere out there, the world continued spinning, oblivious to the drama unfolding within these walls. People were living their lives, believing in the fairy tale of the monarchy, never knowing the darkness that lay beneath. There might be another way, she said slowly, an idea forming. Both brothers looked at her. What do you mean? William asked. Kate turned from the window. The journalist is dead, but he wasn't working alone. He had a team, a publication ready to run the story. They must have backups of everything. Even if they do, how do we reach them? Harry pointed out. We're prisoners here. Kate smiled for the first time in weeks. We are. But the staff aren't. And not all of them are loyal to Camilla. She thought of Amanda, her former secretary, and others who had served Diana, who had been pushed aside or silenced over the years. The palace was full of people who knew the truth but were too frightened to speak. But if the princes themselves were willing to stand up. It's risky, William said, but there was hope in his voice. Everything's risky now, Kate replied. But Diana tried to fight this battle alone. We don't have to. We have each other, and we have the truth. Harry nodded slowly. And we have that footage. If we could get it to the right people. They spent the next 30 minutes planning. It was desperate, probably doomed to fail, but it was better than surrender. They would need to be careful, to play along just enough to lower Camilla's guard, while secretly working to get the evidence out. When the hour was up, Camilla returned. She looked expectantly at William, who still held the unsigned papers. I need more time, he said carefully. This is not a decision to make lightly. Camilla's eyes narrowed. Time is a luxury you don't have. Then, we have conditions, Kate interjected. We'll consider signing, but we want guarantees. Written guarantees about our children's futures, about our roles going forward. It was a stalling tactic, and Camilla probably knew it, but she couldn't refuse without seeming unreasonable to the officials watching. Very well, she said after a moment. I'll have the lawyers draw up additional documents. You have until tomorrow morning. After she left, they put their plan into motion. Harry, who had always been better at connecting with the staff, made contact with a young footman who had served his mother. Kate found a way to communicate with a lady's maid who had access to the outside world. Slowly, carefully, they began to build a network. That night, as the palace slept, Kate retrieved the USB drive from its hiding place. Tomorrow, one way or another, this would all come to an end. Either they would succeed in getting the truth out, or Camilla would discover their plan, and she didn't want to think about what would happen then. William found her in the library at dawn, having barely slept. "Are you ready for this?" he asked. Kate thought about the journey that had brought her here, from a commoner who fell in love with a prince to a princess fighting for truth against an institution that had stood for centuries. She thought about Diana, alone in Paris, and the journalist who had died trying to tell her story. "I'm ready," she said. The morning sun was just breaking over the palace walls when Camilla arrived with her entourage. She had the additional papers, pages of legal language designed to trap them forever. But she also had something else, a triumphant gleam in her eye that made Kate's blood run cold. "Before we proceed," Camilla said, "I thought you should know that we've had to dismiss several staff members this morning. It seems they were involved in some unauthorized communications." She smiled at their stricken faces. "Did you really think we weren't watching? Every servant, every guard, every person in this palace reports to me." Kate felt their hope crumbling. Their network had been discovered before it could act. They were truly alone now. However, Camilla continued, "I'm willing to overlook this little rebellion. Sign the papers now, all of them, and we can put this unpleasantness behind us." William looked at Kate, then at Harry. They had lost. The USB drive remained hidden, but useless now. The truth would stay buried, as it had for decades. But, as Kate reached for the pen, something extraordinary happened. From outside came the sound of chanting, growing louder by the moment. Through the window, they could see crowds gathering at the palace gates, holding signs, demanding answers. Camilla rushed to the window, her face paling. "How?" One of her officials was speaking urgently into a phone. He looked up, panic in his eyes. "Your Majesty, the story, it's everywhere. Every major newspaper, every website. The emails, the documents, everything." "That's impossible." Camilla snarled. "The journalist is dead. His team had a dead man switch," the official explained. "If he didn't check in every 24 hours, everything would be released automatically. And, now." He didn't need to finish. They could all hear the growing roar of the crowd outside. The truth was out, and no amount of palace spin could put it back in the bottle. Camilla turned on them, her composed mask finally slipping completely. "You did this. You destroyed everything." "No," Kate said, standing straight and tall. "You destroyed it. With your secrets and your lies and your willingness to kill to protect them. We just helped the truth find its way to the light." The door burst open. More officials poured in, all talking at once about crisis management, damage control, emergency procedures. But Kate could see in their faces that they knew it was over. The old way of doing things, the culture of silence and intimidation, was crumbling before their eyes. Camilla looked at them one last time, and, for a moment, Kate almost felt sorry for her. She had played by the palace's rules her entire life, had sacrificed everything to reach the top, only to watch it all fall apart. "This isn't over," Camilla said, but her voice lacked its earlier power. She was just an aging woman now, stripped of the authority that had made her terrifying. "The monarchy will survive this, as it has survived everything else." "Maybe," William said. "But it will be different. No more secrets. No more covering up murders. No more silencing those who seek the truth." As Camilla was led away by increasingly frantic advisors, the three of them were left alone. The guards had abandoned their posts, rushing to deal with the crisis. For the first time in weeks, they were free. Harry retrieved the USB drive from its hiding place. "We should make sure this gets to the authorities. Real authorities, not palace ones." William nodded, then turned to Kate. "I'm sorry," he said. For everything you've been through. For not protecting you better. Kate took his hand. We protected each other. And we honored your mother's memory. That's what matters. They made their way through the palace, past portraits of kings and queens who had ruled through secrecy and fear. Outside, they could hear the crowds growing larger, demanding accountability, demanding change. As they reached the main entrance, Kate paused. The same corridor where Camilla had first shown her cold smile, where this had all begun. But, now, walking toward freedom with William and Harry beside her, she wasn't crying. She wasn't broken. She was victorious. The palace doors opened, and they stepped out into the morning sun. The crowd erupted at the sight of them, and camera flashes exploded like fireworks. Questions were shouted from every direction, but Kate barely heard them. She was thinking about Diana, and the journalist, and all the others who had been silenced over the years. Their sacrifice had not been in vain. The truth had finally won. As they made their way through the crowd, Kate caught sight of a familiar face, Amanda, her former secretary, standing with the protesters. Their eyes met, and Amanda smiled, tears running down her face. Kate smiled back, then turned to face the cameras. It was time to tell their story, the real story. No more palace spin, no more carefully managed narratives. Just the truth, painful and liberation in equal measure. Behind them, the palace loomed, its windows dark and watchful. But its power was broken. The age of secrets was over. And, as Kate began to speak, her voice clear and strong, she could almost feel Diana's presence beside her, finally, at peace. The truth had set them all free.